Welcome back to Big Red Radio. This is Bet the Mortgage. Every Friday we come out with this. You got to make sure to get on these lines as soon as you can because last week we had some uh, early lines that were a little bit better than what they ended up being right before the game. I think you said Penn State minus 7.5. The line finished at like 15.5. So got to get on that stuff
Still
early. I know
hit.
it's kind of hard.
Still hit.
But yeah, what is our record? Our record was 4-2 last week, and
So
we hit on
I
Penn State.
missed hit on Penn State, missed on Iowa. Stupid. Um, and then I forget my one.
Yeah, my bets were Bowling Green covering against Michigan. They did. Ohio State covering against Western Kentucky covering against Ohio State. They didn't. So that's 1-1 for me. And then my third one, it didn't hit. It was
It was Florida,
no, it did
Tennessee
hit. It did
under.
hit. So I went 2-1. Yeah, Florida Tennessee under 58.5, which ended up hitting. So I went 2-1 on the day. You went 0-3? No, because you had Penn
No, 'cause
State.
I had the Penn State. I had the
So
Penn State.
we went 3-3. We went 3-3 on the
Yep.
day. We were 4-2 going in, so now we're 7-5, which is still great if you're looking at it from a pure gambling standpoint. If you can go 7-5 gambling, you're plus money. So take with that what you will. I think we got some good bets going in. Uh, Still looking forward to getting these in. But you got anything else before we get into it?
Nope.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so you never miss an episode. But yeah, my first bet. All my bets feature Big Ten teams this week. I think every single team I'm going to mention is in the Big Ten. Start a conference play. I'm all in. Iowa, Penn State under 41.5. I'm interested in Iowa plus 14.5, but not confident enough because Penn State's really good. I think Iowa's got a top 10 defense as they always do. But the game's going to be a slugfest, classic Big Ten matchup. Each team's going to want to run the ball no matter what. If Iowa's down 2 touchdowns with 4 minutes left, they're still going to run the ball. So, not really worried about this line getting too high. I think it's going to be lots of field goals or 1 yard touchdowns with 1 second left on the game clock. So Iowa Penn State under 41.5 is my first bet.
Yeah, my first one is Texas minus 15 against Baylor. Okay, so I'm personally really high on Texas. I think they are a college football playoff team. Uh, I think they're really gonna. I do think they're gonna make it. Here's my problem with Baylor. They give up a lot of points, and Texas has a really good offense because you got Quinn Ewers, you have a great receiving core, and you have a great running back. So Quinn Ewers is averaging like 275 passing yards a game. I think Jonathan Brooks is Texas running back who's averaging just under like 5 yards under 100 yards a game. Um, Quinn Ewers also has 8 touchdown passes, 0 picks. Baylor's offense is not great. Baylor's defense has never been outstanding, um, especially not this year. I mean, they gave up 42 to Texas State. You can't you can't let that happen if you're gonna beat a team like Texas. And I think Texas, especially with it being a rivalry game, like dude, you see it all the time. Like if Texas was playing, I don't know, South Florida, right? They're going to ease off the pedal a little bit come third quarter. Against Baylor, they might not ease off the pedal until, a little bit through the fourth quarter because it's just what you do
Yeah,
in rivalry games. It's no different if we were playing Iowa or if Iowa was playing us or anything.
right.
Um, but yeah, I think Texas lights it up against Baylor this week.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I think Baylor could hold it kind of close. I mean, Texas struggled a little bit with Wyoming last week, ended up pulling away, but
Yeah, a little bit, but
I don't know.
that's the thing. The thing about good teams is like this game. Don't get me wrong. This game could be 14-10 at half, but good teams like Texas that don't make a lot of mistakes. I mean, they've given up one turnover to the six that they've forced, whereas Baylor's given up four or yeah, four to the five that they've forced. And so it's like good teams like Texas that don't make a lot of mistakes just wear you down and run up the score one piece at a time. I'm not saying it's going to be like 70-12, but you could very well see like a 35-14 finish here.
Sure, sure. So my next bet is kind of similar line. Minnesota minus 13 over Northwestern. Northwestern is the worst Power 5 program in the country. Minnesota's a good program. I think it's an easy bet. I mean, 2 touchdowns against the worst program in Power 5 is pretty simple to me. Minnesota minus 13.
Yeah. Sorry. My next one is North Carolina minus 7.5 versus Pittsburgh. So I believe this is a rivalry game as well, but Pittsburgh just lost. So Pittsburgh is 1-2 on the year. Their one win coming against Wofford, which nothing against Wofford. I've never heard of you.
Good
They
basketball
lost
school.
to Cincinnati. They lost to Cincinnati. All right. Cincinnati is not what they used to be. They're not bad, but they're average. And they lost to West Virginia. West Virginia, not great either, really. They didn't really put up many points in that game either. So they put up 21 against Cincinnati. Cincinnati doesn't have a great defense. They put up 6 against West Virginia, so they didn't even score a touchdown. As we saw in the what was it, North Carolina and shoot,
App State,
um, North Carolina, South Carolina
South
game.
Carolina. Yeah.
Um, that North Carolina team, when they get rolling, is good. I
I
mean,
mean,
it's
Drake
a good
May is
team.
legit.
Drake May is very legit. He is,
Mm,
and Pittsburgh doesn't have a great defense or anything either. Like they're not a team with an outstanding defense, and clearly they don't have an outstanding offense either. Minus 7.5. Again, I'm not saying this is going to be a blowout win, but I think it's a handily win. I think it's 28-7 or 28-10 kind of win here. With that,
yeah.
and I think they definitely win by over a touchdown.
Yeah. North Carolina, they have a really good offense, but they have a
They do,
bad defense. So
they
that's
do,
why
but Pitt
they
doesn't
win
have a
by
great
in
offense.
double overtime against App State because they just can't stop
Right,
anybody.
right. Kind of, it's kind of like Colorado,
Yeah.
but it's also like they don't make enough mistakes. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
North Carolina's deep offense just doesn't make mistakes, and teams like Pitt do make mistakes, quite a few of them. And so, if you can just capitalize on those mistakes, which I think they will, then I think. And if this line was 12 or 13, it'd weary me a little bit. But at 7.5, I think they win by more than a touchdown.
Yeah. So my last one is also 7.5 Maryland minus 7.5 over Michigan State. I mentioned Northwestern is the worst Power 5 team in the country. Michigan State might be right behind them. They were bad already, and now they lost their coach. So not looking good for Michigan State. They might not win another game all year. Maryland didn't look great against a bad Virginia team, eventually ended up pulling out. But Michigan State, I think, is even worse. And Maryland at least has a competent quarterback that can get things done with Talia. So look for Maryland to win pretty handily. I think this line is probably going to grow by the time we release this video. So getting in at 7.5 now, but I would take it all the way up to 13 and a half probably.
Yeah. And then my last one is Florida State minus 2.5 versus Clemson. So here's the thing about Clemson, right? They got beat by Duke.
Duke's a good
We
team.
still don't even you would think, right? But like Duke hasn't been proven since that Clemson game. So I don't know if people remember when Iowa was number 2 in the country. The reason they were number 2 in the country was not because they were the second best team in the country. I mean, we all know that. The reason they were number 2 in the country is because they started out their season with a cupcake and won. They then beat a bad Iowa State team who was highly, highly overranked in the preseason rankings. And so when they beat them, they were like number 10. Okay, so now you're 2-0, you just beat the number 10 team in the nation. They win another game against a not very good team. Somehow they climbed to number 3. They got a Penn State team at number 4 with their third string quarterback in and beat and on a comeback win. So when Penn State's starter was in, Iowa was down 20-7. They hurt their starter, they hurt their backup, third strings in. They get a comeback last second win against Penn State. Then they were number 2. We all saw it fall apart. Okay. So I think that's kind of what happened with Duke here. Duke got kind of lucky that Clemson was ranked really high in the preseason rankings. So they beat them. And then they've just they just continuously won against opponents they should beat anyways. And so they're just going one step higher and one step higher. And now they're at 18. Are they really the 18th best team in the country? I don't know, because they haven't really proven that. But they got lucky that the fact that Clemson was ranked really high. Now you go over to Clemson, they got beat 28-7 versus Duke. They also have not been proven since then. They haven't been able to prove whether or not they're a good team. They played Charleston Southern and won by a ton, and then they played Florida Atlantic and won by a ton last week. And Florida Atlantic didn't even have their QB because he tore his ACL.
Mm-hmm.
And so Florida State is in a great position here where you just had a close game last week and everyone's sending question marks towards you, and you got to go prove something this week. And so I think you do, because Clemson is a good-ish team, and I think Florida State is a really, really good team this year. And I feel like this is kind of your prove it game, because you almost lost to Boston College last week.
Mm.
And so if you want to prove it, you go put a whooping on Clemson. So I think 2.5 is a great line to hit for Florida State versus Clemson.
I think it's going to be a close game. I actually would very much not be surprised if Clemson won that game. I think Clemson's talented.
Right.
Florida State is obviously not flawless. They allowed 29 points to Boston College, who lost to NIU, by the way.
Sure, you could also look at it as, this is Clemson's prove it game.
Sure.
Of like, you haven't been able to prove anything since Duke, and so you got to prove it here. But that's also why I'm giving you this bet and not the Oregon money line over Colorado, or
Right.
the Oklahoma money line over Tulsa. Like, obviously I could give you those bets and I'd go undefeated, but if you want to win bets, you take the value bets. Or if you want to win money, you take the value bets, not the easy bets. And so, in my eyes, at least.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. So that's going to do it for Bet the Mortgage this week. This obviously will be out every Friday, so stay tuned every week. Head over to TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're always going to post shorts and clips and other stuff over there. So, yeah, Zach, you got anything else before we sign off?
I don't.
All right. Well, we will see you guys next week. Go Big Red.